These are the salad days for the Dallas Cowboys with wide receiver George Pickens. Everything is going great. Pickens, in his first season with the Cowboys after being traded from the Pittsburgh Steelers in the offseason, has been lighting up opposing defenses. Through 6 games, Pickens leads the NFL with 6 receiving touchdowns and is 4th in the NFL with 525 receiving yards. He's coming off a bravura performance against the Carolina Panthers in Week 6, in which he had 9 receptions for 168 yards and 1 touchdown, his second game with over 130 receiving yards this season. Things are going so good for Pickens right now, he thought it was a good time to sound off on his former team and how they tarnished his image by portraying him as someone who is toxic in Pittsburgh's locker room. Pickens tries to deflect blame to Steelers. That's been such a vastly different Pickens experience than the Cowboys appear to be having, Heavy.com's Sean Devaney wrote on October 16th. Pickens has repeatedly talked about the closeness of the team and the wide receiver room, and his teammates and coaches have pointed out how much fun he is to have around in the locker room. He insists he was the same way with the Steelers, but that there were elements in the organization that sought to damage his image. So, what conspiracy or cabal sought to take down Pickens? That part isn't totally clear. Especially off the cameras, Pickens said. I mean, I can't record myself. Definitely, people can put stuff out there that can tarnish your image, but I always feel like I was having fun. For several reasons, those are some wild things for Pickens to say. That begins with the fact anyone with a smartphone knows you can record yourself, and ends with the idea anyone but Pickens himself, all on his own, tarnished his image. Steelers' Christmas Day nightmare with Pickens. Imagine this, you're an NFL team getting ready to play on Christmas Day at home. Not only that, but you'll be playing in front of tens of millions of people at home will watch you in the first NFL regular season games to stream on Netflix. And you're doing it all against the defending Super Bowl champion Kansas City Chiefs. That was the situation the Steelers found themselves in on Christmas Day in 2024, and in the time they should have been the most laser-focused, the most dialed in the hours leading up to kickoff, they found themselves dealing with a much different issue. That's because their star player, Pickens, was nowhere to be found. After the Steelers' Week 13 win in Cincinnati, during which Pickens was flagged twice for unsportsmanlike conduct, the coach said the wideout needed to grow up. The Athletic, Mike DeFabor wrote in January 2025. Pickens sat out the next 2 games with a hamstring injury. When he was finally healthy, how did he respond? By showing up late for the Christmas Day game against the Kansas City Chiefs. Tomlin asks players to report to games at least 2 hours before kickoff. On December 25th, Pickens walked through the media entrance an hour and 25 minutes before kickoff. That was after inactive players were announced. That's just one example of Pickens being his own worst enemy. There are plenty more, and blaming the Steelers for any part of his failure should count as more of the same. The last thing the Dallas Cowboys should do at the trade deadline is move on from assets just to make a trade. However, given how talented the offense has been behind Dak Prescott playing the best football of his career, it's obvious that the defense is the only thing holding this organization up at the moment. If the Cowboys want to be a serious team in the playoffs, or even get there to begin with, it'll likely come down to them making a trade. Owner Jerry Jones has made it known over the past few weeks that he's very interested in getting a deal done, and according to his son and Vice President Stephen Jones, he also is. He stated the same thing his father has, saying that the team will make a trade if one arises. The trade deadline is the trade deadline. Until that point, you're always looking for ways to improve yourself, and you can do that up until the trade deadline. And as I said, we're always very serious about looking at any way to make our team better, he said, per John Machota of The Athletic. Should the Cowboys make a blockbuster trade? The questions for the Dallas Cowboys will be centered around who they want and what they want to give up. The reality is that if the Cowboys go out and make a blockbuster deal, that has to result in them either winning now or in the immediate future. To trade for a win-now piece to not win instantly would be a big problem. That's why the Cowboys have to trade for a player who has multiple years left on their contract. From the sound of things, it seems like Jerry understands that he has the ammo to make a deal, but wants to be careful before doing so. If there is a trade that would help the defense, we're in position to make that trade, Jones said, per the team's official website. It doesn't mean we're going to make one, but we certainly had in mind when we started this season that we were going to have ammo to be more flexible in terms of what we do with the roster as we move along this year, and of course as we get into the next couple of years. We have thought all along that if we see a way to improve this year with a trade at the deadline, then we'll take advantage of it, Jones said. That's what we positioned for to start this year, was to have ammunition to do things if we have an opportunity. Will the Cowboys look to improve on defense? The Dallas Cowboys have also been banged up a bit defensively, but it doesn't excuse what they've done on that side of the football to start the year. While they could be better on that front, and the injuries aren't helping, it's been a disaster. However, Jones has stated that he plans to weigh all options of players returning and go from there. We will weigh what are the likelihood of the players we got coming back, how will they impact where that will put this team as opposed to should we add a player in a trade, Jones said. I don't have a trade in mind right now at all. That comes about right now if someone is on the phone calling. The Dallas Cowboys desperately need to improve their defense if the team is going to turn its season around and make the playoffs. Owner Jerry Jones has made it quite clear the Cowboys will be exploring trades at the deadline, but the reality of the situation is that Dallas is sitting at 2-3-1, and if things go poorly the next 3 games before the November 4th deadline, the Cowboys could do nothing. Yahoo Sports' Charles Robinson agrees with that notion, but he also thinks that if Dallas is still in the hunt at the end of the month, the team could aim really big to improve its defense. Robinson names the Tennessee Titans' Jeffery Simmons and the Cincinnati Bengals' Trey Hendrickson as examples of just how high the Cowboys could aim. And multiple sources across the league told Yahoo Sports this week they believe Jones will be listening for a plus-size talent on the level of the Cincinnati Bengals' Trey Hendrickson or Tennessee Titans' Jeffery Simmons, if Dallas is in the playoff hunt at the end of October. Robinson goes on to add that people around the league believe Hendrickson's value is, at most, a second-round pick, or a floor of a third-rounder plus a day 3 selection. As for Simmons, the belief is the Titans would want a first-rounder and then some. The problem with both players is neither one might be available. Reports have hinted the Titans aren't going to move Simmons, and the Bengals have a new spark for their once flailing 2025 campaign in Joe Flacco, so Hendrickson is far less likely to be moved now that Cincinnati has hoped to stay afloat until Joe Burrow returns from injury. The Cowboys, of course, could use help in both areas, as the run defense is putrid and the pass rush is seriously lacking in the post-Micah Parsons era. Dallas is certainly equipped to pull off a blockbuster trade thanks to the picks the Cowboys acquired in the Parsons trade, but it remains to be seen if one will be available to them.